switch over to
That's German.
this. There we go. No,
Is it
French.
German?
Anyway,
No, that was French.
I am now starting my review of Ratchet and Clank: A Rift Apart on the PS5.
French from the perspective of a German.
Yes, something like that. Anyhow,
ooh, wow,
Ratchet and Clank: A Rift Apart on the PS5. This is an incredible game. Let me just start with that. It is it's kind of an action platformer type genre. If you've never played a Ratchet and Clank game, that's what it is. You know, literally everyone has made this comparison. So I kind of want to just say it real quick and move along, because I feel like, you know, it's an obvious thing that you have to say, but it looks now like becoming a cliche. Exactly. It looks like a Pixar movie. But what's cool about this is there's not a moment where it doesn't, you know? Like you can't even tell the difference between transitioning from a cutscene to gameplay, which is mind-boggling.
That's nuts.
Crazy.
That's so good.
In fact, there's sometimes like in my playthrough where I would just like stand there and like thinking the cutscene was still going, you know, and then realizing, oh shit, I'm just standing here. I need to play this game.
That's amazing.
That's cool. Just giving a little.
So it's interesting to me, like that it is that seamless, because there are some games, Gears for example, which tone down the quality of the cutscenes, or some of them at least, to match the gameplay footage.
Yeah.
So
okay. Yeah.
That experience artificially.
Well, so no, they don't do that. This is what they do.
Everything is at that level.
What they do in those games is the in order to save money and time, they render the cutscenes in the game engine.
Right. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. So they do that intentionally, where it seems like Ratchet and Clank doesn't do that.
No, yeah. Well, so and what's crazy is like you can't even tell the difference. I mean, there's some times when you can. I think the one thing that would give it away is like the fur detail, right? Which in cutscenes is immaculate, and in gameplay it's almost immaculate. You know what I mean?
So it's barely noticeable, yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, just giving a little bit more background on the game itself. It's developed by Insomniac Games. It was released on June 11th, 2021. It is on PS5 exclusively, and this game launched at $70, so $69.99, which is kind of how like all brand new. That's like the new thing,
I
like
spent
brand
60 on
new,
Skyward.
like next word. Yeah, but next gen games, next gen games drop at 70.
Dude, that's dumb. I didn't even know that.
Yeah,
really dumb. What about a next gen game put onto Steam eventually? Is that going to be $70 again?
I don't know. Here's the thing. You know,
ouch.
like that's a totally different topic. Like if you factor in inflation, technically games should be way more expensive than this, right? But that's a whole long conversation that we shouldn't get into right now.
I feel like
I'm not in the middle of a review. So moving along.
Fair enough.
What did I like about this game? The gameplay is incredible. The graphics are incredible. Like I said, like you can't tell the difference between a cutscene and your gameplay some of the times, most of the times, almost all the time. It is, it's the most stunning game I've ever played.
I said that about Ghost last year.
Yeah. I mean, well, so there's a difference, right? Like
I know,
Ghost doesn't have this kind of graphical fidelity, right?
Insane.
But Ghost artistically is, you know,
beautiful.
It's fucking incredible. And you know, the Ghost of Tsushima director's cut that's coming out, that's going to be all PS5'd out, is, you know, it's going to be up here, right? But not quite necessarily. What else did I like about the game? Like the writing is really fantastic. Again, going back to the Pixar example, it feels like you're playing a game that is written for both adults and children, right? Like, you know how when you watch a Disney movie, there's jokes that are like maybe pretty adulty jokes, but would just go straight the fuck over the head of a child, right? But intertwined in that joke is a joke that the child would get. You know, that's kind of how this, the writing in this game is, and I think it's done really very well.
That's awesome.
Is there any crossover between the like writers who might have notably worked on a Disney product? That might not be a question you know the answer to, but
yeah, that's not a question I know the answer to, but it's possible. I don't know.
Cool to see the team,
So, I love those things about this game. I think, there's probably many more things that I could go on about. But let's talk about what I didn't like. What I did not like about this game was there's not much I didn't like. I did like most of the game. There's two things in particular that I didn't like. One of them is kind of a minor issue. And then the other one is a little bigger, and they're both kind of related. So let's start with the first one. The first one is the game doesn't feel as platformy as it, as I would like it to be. There are good platforming sections, but it feels more like an action game than a platformer.
It looks more like Zelda.
Yeah.
Is that just an evolution of the franchise, or do you think
that's an
actual drawback?
I think that they kind of went into more of like they tried to make it more cinematic, make it play more like a movie or whatever, and less like a video game where you feel like you're doing a lot more platforming kind of stuff. Though, in 100% honesty, I haven't played the early Ratchet and Clank games, so it's hard for me to really answer that question honestly.
That like rift gun is sick. That thing lets you grapple through the rift.
It's so fucking cool. It's so fucking cool. I'll talk about that here in a minute.
That is filthy. Why is this an exclusive?
Well, there's a
there's
it's always been an exclusive.
I know.
For
but now I want to play it. Fuck.
But anyway, going back to the thing that I really didn't like about this game, the kind of like the one thing that kind of very infrequently, right? So it wasn't very often this happened, but when it would happen, it would kind of take me out of the experience. There's some like shitty platforming sometimes, and there's some like there's at the very beginning of the game, I tried to jump on this thing and I got stuck, and I'm just like floating in between this thing, and it's like just really bad hit detection, and like there's like an invisible wall there that's fucking shit up, and there shouldn't be one there, and like so it just felt like as polished as this game looks, and as like well done as they, attention to detail in everything, every aspect of this game is done so well, except for some reason, like the controls, like it kind of feels like PS2 almost, like in that aspect.
That's
and
that's bad.
And again, it's not always, but like when it happens, you're like, what the fuck, man? Like that just feels bad. This is a next gen title, on the PS5. It's like a flagship title. So like that was kind of a bummer, but fortunately that very rarely happens, and it usually only happens when like you're like being extra exploratory, right? When I'm trying to like, almost break the game in ways that like, go places I'm not necessarily supposed to go, that kind of stuff. So it's not something you're gonna run into, but like I said, if you do, it just kind of feels whack. A lot of people complain about like the ammunition in this game, which I think is a really silly thing to complain about, because with the amount of weapons that it gives you, and like the variety of weapons, which is one of the great things about this game, like the different weapons it gives you are so unique and fun. Like part of the fun of the game is switching between your weapons, right? So when you run out of ammo on a weapon, you just switch to your next one. There was never a time in this game where I felt like negatively impacted by running out of ammo, which is something that I heard a lot of other reviewers complaining about. I just thought that was strange, and I thought I should mention that. I think if you're playing the game the way the game was designed to be played, that's not going to be a problem for you. So there's that. You mentioned, Josh, the kind of like portal technology in this game.
Yeah, sick.
That is probably like the biggest highlight of this game is the the rifting, right? And like I don't know what else to call it, but like there's like when you're doing it in these little sections, it's impressive for sure, but it's not super mind-blowing because it's just taking you to another part of the same map that you're on. But there's parts of the game where you jump through a rift and it takes you to a totally different dimension and it renders everything on the fly in an instant, and it's impossibly cool. Like it's also
That's fucking
impossible to
nuts.
do on a system previous to the PS5, right?
That's crazy. Yeah.
And like I've mentioned this before, like without actually playing it yourself, you don't realize how cool that is. I don't think there's any way I could describe uh that feeling that would make you feel the way I feel about it unless you've experienced it yourself. But it is the most next gen feeling thing I've experienced in a video game, period. Um,
That's
so
sick.
it's
Nice.
super worth noting. And
Yeah,
it's
it
a
looks
very
insane.
dude, it really is. It's very cool. Um, how is the gameplay? Was it fun? Absolutely. Like I said, with the very very few exceptions of platforming being a little bit whack, it's fantastic. The art is obviously beautiful. It's like super cartoony but really gorgeous, like especially if you've got ray tracing on. Holy shit, man. Like it just looks absolutely incredible. Which this does have a mode where you can choose like a performance with ray tracing, right? So like it still gives you ray tracing, but it also keeps um your frames at around 60 frames per second, which is fantastic.
That's really
Or,
good.
or you can lock it to 30 frames and have ray tracing as well and have even like higher resolution, like super crisp, 4K whatever. But like I'm telling you, with the performance ray tracing on or whatever, it looks incredible. So I think that's the best way to play it. You can also do like purely performance mode where it doesn't do ray tracing, and it's just it's 60 frames plus always. And I didn't do that, but I'm sure it's cool. But like I think the perfect compromise is that performance ray tracing, because it
Mhm.
looks absolutely incredible. And I never felt like any kind of like stuttering. There was never a point where the frame rate felt bad to me. Um, so that's rad. The music's really good. Um, Sound design really fantastic. Especially because like there's always characters around that are talking and doing and saying different things. Also, like you have some weapons that are actually like living weapons, right? Like
Yeah.
like you might have seen in the gameplay earlier that I shot out some like these little mushroom guys that float around and do stuff, and they'll be talking while they're doing combat. Same thing with like these little robots that you can shoot out. Um, so that's really cool. Um, yeah, just a lot of really fucking great things about this game. What else? Sound design. How long did it take me to beat? Huh. I'm gonna say probably 20 hours, 15, 20
Mm,
hours. It's not a super long
uh,
game, but it's
it's a little
plenty of
disappointing.
content. And it
That's
could be
good.
longer if you want to. I did not
Mhm.
100% this game, but there's a ton of like explorable stuff, collectible stuff. Very similar, very akin to like Banjo Kazooie in like the collecting
Now you got
aspect.
me.
Mhm.
Um, so like there's stuff in every level that you can collect, and I did not do so, but if that's your jam, it's there. Um, so you can definitely do that. Um, was the game difficult? No. And I don't think that's a bad thing. I think this game was like honestly like the perfect difficulty for what it was. There was never a time where I felt like I was in danger of not being able to beat a section. Uh, there may have been one or two sections that I had to retry, but not really. But that also kind of plays into like how this game feels like a movie. Like it keeps the flow going, right? Without, interrupting too much, without you having to like die and go back and do shit over. And I think that's good. I'm sure you could, I don't know. There's probably is other difficulties that you could set. But the default difficulty I think is perfect for a first playthrough, like absolutely perfect. Because it, like I said, it feels like a smooth experience through and through, and it never felt too easy either. That I should really mention. Like there was certainly challenging moments, but like not like a Dark Souls kind of challenging, like I never was like sweat my balls off trying to finish something.
Yeah,
Sure.
goddamn.
So
Dark Souls.
it's good. I think the difficulty, like I said, for a first playthrough with the default difficulty, I think it's like so perfectly balanced, like really really well tuned. Um, and yeah, I think that's really
I
very
like
cool.
that. I like that when a game is like normal mode is normal.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what it is. Normal mode is normal, and that's good. Like it makes the flow of the game go really well. So yeah, very good. Will I play a sequel? Yeah, for sure. And this is a sequel, right? I don't know how many. There's a ton of Ratchet and Clank games.
It's a bunch. Yeah.
This is the second one in this style. Like I think the one on PS4 is a remake of the first one, which I do have and I have played. I never finished that one. Which maybe I will go back because they kind of did a performance boost for the PS5 on that one as well. So I may go back and finish that after playing this game because I just had such a freaking blast with this. Though I feel like the other one, the first one, and I could be wrong about this because it's been forever since I attempted to beat it, but I feel like it's less linear than this. Not that this one's super duper linear, but like it was really easy to tell where the fuck I was supposed to be going and what the next thing to do was. I never had to be like, where am I supposed to go to that planet? I don't know. There was never a point where that happened, so that's nice too. Overall rating and impression.
Oh, here we go.
I'm gonna give this a.
It's a toughie.
It is a toughie. I don't want to give it too high of a score, but I also don't want to undercut this game either. I'm thinking like an 8.9, and the reason for that is
it's pretty solid.
The reason for that is like there's moments, like I mentioned before, where as polished as this game is, I feel like, oh, I totally left out the worst part of the game, and this is actually a perfect. This is a perfect example of why it's not making it into the nines. Right? There's a section where you get onto this dragon, and you're flying around, and everything looks really cool, but the flight controls are ass, and there's no reason for that. There's absolutely no reason for that, especially with as much like detail as they put into this game. Like to make your flight controls like absolute duty butts on this dragon is like such a fucking oversight, That coupled with like the very occasional like platforming snafus, that's what's bringing this, taking this game out of the nines. Otherwise it's a masterpiece. Like it's absolutely a fantastic game. It's beautiful. It's fun. The writing is fantastic. The story's really cool. One thing that like, dude, like, so they introduced a new character in this game. Actually a few new characters, but like a counterpart, cause this is in like an alternate dimension. So they like, it's a, like an alternate dimension version of Ratchet, which is a female Lombax named Rivet. And she's absolutely freaking adorable. Like, honestly, if they made another Ratchet and Clank game, I would hope that she was the main character. Like even though you play as her like about 50% of the game, like I just thought that she was much more charming than Ratchet the entire way through. So that was another kind of highlight. I just think they did a really good job with this. So, but I'm sticking with my score, 8.9. I think, because of the things I mentioned. There you go. Would I pay full price for this? Here's the thing. I did pay full price for it, and I think it was worth it. But I am also of the opinion, if you don't have to review a game, for something, or like if there's not like a rush to play it, if it's not something you want to play day one, wait for a sale. You know, especially with these new titles that are dropping at $70 on the
That's
PS5.
nuts.
Like it is nuts. It
That
is nuts.
stupid.
So
That's ridiculous to me.
It's a lot of money.
it is a lot of money to be spending on one video game.
Although I
And-
would spend
Especially after
100
you've
on
already
Skyward
spent,
Sword.
what, $500 on the PlayStation itself?
yeah,
Try
presumably
like 6.
you're not buying
Well.
these back to back. Though I will
You might
say
be.
Be one
you
game.
can
Like,
sometimes
yeah.
get this in a bundle, right? But it's a good game. It's I do think it's worth it, but I would also say, you know, it's not like something that you have to play immediately, and you could wait for a sale. So
Fair.
It's not
you know,
Skyward Sword.
it's fine. You know, it's fine for you to wait for a sale on this one. I think anything that's priced at $70, you should probably try and wait for a sale,
Yeah, that's cray.
Yeah.
regardless of how rad the game is. So,
Yeah.
Well,
anyway,
I think that applies to anything that's a repeatable purchase,
Sure.
like a video game.
yeah.
Price at $70, like $60. Okay, fine. Still probably gonna wait for it unless
Yeah.
to go on sale.
It sucks. Like
As
if
Josh
it's
said,
Zelda,
unless it's Skyward Sword.
if it's Zelda or Mario, I honestly don't even care what the price is. That's what's
Yeah.
crazy. Like I would literally pay
or-
$100 for Breath 2. Like,
You know, in our case, new Pokemon Snap.
yeah,
Yeah.
I'll pay sweet. The one game I'm kind of like a little. So did anyone else get it yet? Mario Golf.
No, not
I'm
yet.
a
But
little
let me wrap up
sad.
the review real quick,
Okay,
and then
cool.
we can talk about that if you want.
Oh,
Anyway,
yeah.
this has been my review of Ratchet and Clank: A Rift Apart.